Guys, happy Friday. It is freaking Friday. What are you doing? Anything fun? I tweeted out a 2 days after the marathon that we're going to do a Q&A, kind of just to help you guys demystify the scary craziness behind the idea of running a marathon and just kind of my experience. So I wrote down 11 of your questions that you guys asked me on Twitter, and we're just going to hash through them, and I'm going to give you guys my experience. So here we go. First one from Ken's says, what inspired you to want to run? Honestly, I've always been kind of good at running. It's one of those fitness things that you try out and you're like, oh, I enjoy doing this and I'm not bad at it. Ever since, and I don't think all the credit obviously goes to me, but ever since I was little, my mom would put me in races. There's this annual run in Pocatello called the Bubblegum Run, and it was like only a mile, but it's for children, for kids. And so and she'd always bribe me, like, if you win this, I'm going to buy you a Barbie camper. I remember this one time I really, really wanted this, like, Barbie RV. And so the whole time I'm like, if I win this, I get this Barbie RV. So I would just kick butt at it just so I could get the prizes. My mom would bribe me. And then at the end, they call you up and you get recognized in front of everybody. And I love that. And you get a medal. They always had very thin string for the medals that hung really nicely, and then a gold medal. And I felt like pretty because I had this medal on. And they had a big box of gumballs that you could like get your hands in and get as many as you wanted. So I've always, so starting out young, I think having my parents getting me in that, and then just being very competitive, brought up with brothers and trying to keep up with the boys, it put something in me. And so, in middle school, I ran cross country and track a little bit, but I wasn't like the fastest sprinter, but I was like the third in my class of being fast, but I realized I could go longer. So then that kind of was just something that clicked with me, and it's just something that I did and felt good about. So I never really ever thought, it was always in like a back place in my mind that one day maybe I'll run a marathon, or just, the idea of saying it just sounds cool, but I don't know if my intentions were really backed behind it. But when Shay was like, we're going to do this, and Logan and Casey, I was like, what? Are going to do it with us? I was like, what a fun opportunity for me to hang out with all my brothers. And then Logan and Casey backed out. But, Shay just kind of getting me to commit to it. I think really having a group structure and somebody behind you to be like, let's do this together, or just having that support really, really helps. But I think that just finding what you're good at and sticking with it and, getting better at it can keep you on track with your fitness and your goals and all of that. Hey Bryce, what's up? Clay, he asks, how did you brace the cold weather in New York? You guys, I'm sure you've seen the vlog, my vlog, and Shay's vlog, but it was freezing. The coldest time in New York that we were there for the 6 days was the day of the race, and it wasn't just that it was cold and it was blowing. We had 40-mile headwinds coming at us. The guy who actually won the race, this was his slowest mile ever by 30 minutes because the winds against us were so intense. I remember there was one part I was running on the bridge and I literally felt like somebody shoved me out of the way, and I like looked over and this other guy like grabbed me and steadied me because it like almost knocked me over. But it was just kind of so ridiculous that it became hilarious. And I think out of everything that I'll remember is the pre-race, how we were all just like dying and laughing and shivering, and it became like this experience. And so to me, that was a good lesson on your attitude and how you can sit and focus on something that's going to be, that's negative, that's not going right. Like, oh, it's so freezing, I'm not going to be able to run, my muscles are locking up. But we just laughed and joked about it, and it was just really so miserable that we were delirious, I think, and laughing. And the laughter got us through, and then when it was actually time to start running, we were grateful because it was so cold. So we were running from the cold. Kirsty Louise, hey girl, she asks, how on earth are you feeling now? Honestly, the worst part for me, and remember, every answer I feel like isn't going to be everybody's answer or experience with running a marathon. A marathon or training in general should be very specific to you. So everybody's answers are going to be different. But for me, the experience for me was like, how am I feeling right after the marathon? You're just like on this high of getting it done, and then you cross that finish line, you have that emotional breakthrough, and then it's like, then your body kind of starts to set into shock in kind of a little bit of a way because you're just pushing yourself so hard. But after, like the day after, I was sore, but not as sore as I get when I lift weights or when I have a good CrossFit session. You feel sore and stiff, but it's more in your joints and your bones. And I don't know how healthy that is than it really is in your muscles. And my experience when I woke up, I was just afraid to put my feet on the floor because my foot was bruising immediately after that race and swelling up. But I was limping around New York pretty good for the first day after Monday, and then Tuesday I wasn't really that sore in my legs, and today I did my first workout since the marathon and I feel awesome. Sierra Drew, what was the hardest part? Honestly, the first 3 or 4 miles, you're in such a high, and you know, you're running and there's all these people and you feel everybody is like, you feel it. It's literally moving you. You feel what everyone is feeling, like the anxiety and the buildup and the nerves and the adrenaline, and everybody's got their music in and everyone's just so focused, and as a group, it rubs off on you and you feel it. So like the first 3, 4 miles, I looked down at my Nike GPS and I was like, oh my gosh, we've ran 4 miles. Like I didn't even really know. And for me, the hardest part of a run is warming up and getting into it. So for me, the hardest part is like the first 3 miles. And so I always hate that. But the hardest part, I didn't ever really hit a part where I was like, I want to quit. I don't want to do this. But it did at mile 21, 22, I really started feeling it in like my hips and my joints, and I could feel that I was slowing down a bit. But there was never a part of the actual marathon that I was like, you know, that feeling when you're doing a workout and you're like, I just want to stop, it's so hard. But in the training hours, there were definitely times on a run where I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this. I'm over it. I'm done running. So, but the hardest part was just, you know, after we'd run and then we'd stretch out and kind of take a break. It was kind of hard to get your body back in the groove of, okay, let's run again. Just because I feel like my hips probably weren't conditioned enough for this specific run. But the hardest part, oh my gosh, the hardest part, I don't know. I don't think there was one particular part where I was like, this is harder than all the others. The training, that's what I'm going to stick with for my answer. The training was the hardest part. Jill asks, what was something you were surprised about? It's just such a clarifying moment when you watch your body go through something that you haven't ever imagined it going through. I remember the most miles that I ran in our training leading up to the marathon was 16, and that's honestly just because I had so many foot problems that I was afraid to go any further. And so I remember in the actual marathon, when I crossed mile marker 17, I was thinking, I have never ran this far in my life. This is the hardest I've ever gone on a run. And then I crossed 18 and 19 and 20, and it was just so surprising that every mile past 16 wasn't like incredibly harder. It was just almost like surprising how cool it was to be able to be like, I'm doing it. I'm going another mile further than I've ever been. And then the surprising part was it actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm in such shape, I'm awesome, but I think I had so much emotional stress up before it of, oh, this is going to be so hard, this is going to be so hard, it's going to kill me, that running it, I was like, I feel good. I felt like I had put in the time, and maybe it was just adrenaline and the high of being in New York, but that to me was surprising that I wasn't dead. I wasn't dying. Carson Perry asks, which part of New York was your favorite to run through? Manhattan is obviously beautiful. Central Park is beautiful, just like how the trees come up and over the road. I don't know where I was at, but it was just a feeling I had on, I think it was mile like 16 or 17. The sun came out and it was shining through these trees, and a good song came on my iPod or my shuffle, my iTunes. And I think it was Mercy Me, I Can Only Imagine. And that to me was such a spiritual moment because I just felt the warmth of the sun and I felt my body growing stronger. And I just remember like sucking in that very moment and looking around me and being like, this is a life-changing experience, and I was grateful for that. But it was just cool to be able to run through all the boroughs of New York and to see everything. You know, we went through the Bronx and Queens and Manhattan, and you know, it was just cool to like, we took a ferry on Monday and we could see the bridge where we started, and Shay is like, think about it, we started at this end of the bridge, ran over that bridge, and like basically ran through all of like New York in a sense. It was like we got to see all of New York, but we ran through it. So that was kind of cool to think about. THG Holly asks, which mile was the hardest? How did you get through? After mile 20, I don't know if it's because people talk about it, that it's like this mental thing that all of a sudden you're like, start shutting down. I didn't start shutting down, but I just really started feeling it in my hips. And I my foot didn't bother as much as my hips started bothering me. And the cold also played a part into it because you're running, so your body's staying warm, but the cold is still affecting like your joints and your muscles. And I had to stretch my hips quite a bit. And at a mile about 21, I was like very like, okay, it's starting to get painful. Like I can really feel it now. I can't run as comfortably as I want to. But some awesome man on the side of the road had this like this bagel with, I think it was raisins, and I just was running and I'm like grabbed this bagel and took a big couple bites into it, and honestly as soon as those carbs like hit me, I like took off like an Energizer bunny. So the carbs helped. And then mile 23, I think it was, this lady was on the side of the road. I had kind of started slowing down just to get my hips, like, you know, they were so, at mile 23 that my hips are hurting enough to where I'm like, I feel like I'm about to pull one. So I kind of just started to slow down a little bit and be like, okay, let's slow it down, let's warm them back up, and warm them back up like they weren't warm after 23 miles. But this lady on the side of the road had a Coca-Cola and these like little mouthwash cups, and she was handing them out, and I think the sugar and the caffeine in it, I was like, I'll take a Coke on mile 23. Took a shot of some Coca-Cola, and that also helps me get through. So if you guys are running, I personally think that the food along the way and the drinks and the water really helps you, because you, especially in cold, your body doesn't really feel cold when you're, or feel thirsty when you're cold. So make sure you stay hydrated. And the carbs, oh my gosh, after you run 23 miles, you need some carbs. So that definitely helps get my fire going again. Three more. At J House Vlogs, was this in any way a spiritual experience for me? Yes, 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 100%. There was a part where Shay leaned over and we just like had this moment. It's like, all of this training, all of this time, I get to spend with my brother who I love and who inspires me, and he just like leaned over and hugged me. He's like, I love you, and kissed my head, and I just felt like, this is awesome. This is such a cool, life-changing experience. For that part for me, just made me feel very loved, and I was so grateful to be able to be there with my brother in New York, running the New York City Marathon. And then I talked about this a little bit earlier in the vlog, but there was a Mercy Me came on, I Can Only Imagine, and it's kind of a spiritual song, like a, you know, a song about what it would be like to be in God's presence. And they played that song at Cassie's funeral. And I just felt so grateful for my healthy body, and it made me really miss Cassie. And but then it motivated me to be like, she would be so proud that I can be here. And that's when I was like, okay, run this for Cassie. Like this stretch of the race is going to be for that my beautiful friend. And if you guys don't know, she just recently passed away of cancer. And hearing that song and imagining Cassie and feeling the sun coming through on my face. And I think there's a picture I'm going to remind me. I'll tweet it out to you guys. I wanted to capture, I like just stretched out my arms and looked up and felt every emotion I could in that moment. And it definitely changed my heart. I had a change of heart during that race and that stretch of the 26.2. Miss Sophie asks, what in your prep for this helped the most? The preparation helps. Preparation, not preparation H. You have to prepare. If you don't prepare, you're gonna fail. If you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So really on those Saturdays where I didn't want to go out and do the longer runs, which I wish we would have done some more and actually incorporated some more weightlifting, but you know, I think we're like a B average in staying consistent with our training. But honestly, in prep for this, helped the most was just preparing. You can't go out and run a marathon and not have put in the time or the work before. You have to commit as aggressively to the marathon as you do to your preparation, because the harder you train preparing for the marathon, the easier the marathon's going to get. And that's what I kept trying to remember in my head during our preparation. Like running, we ran a lot of hills in Idaho, and I think that really helped our leg game. But I remembered like running up this like hill. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not going to be running up this mountain in New York. It's flat. But then I just kept repeating, you know, the harder I train here right now, the easier the marathon's going to be. And you want it almost to kind of be enjoyable, because it's like the buildup of this big event, and you want to be able to look around and breathe and enjoy it. So that was the hardest. What in your prep for this has helped the most was the preparation. Yep. And to last, Kim C, did you run the whole time? I never walked on the course. When we ran, we were running. I never stopped in the middle of a run and like took a breather. But when we'd run through the water stations, I would step off to the side, take a drink, stretch, and then get right back at it. A couple stations we stopped for a little bit longer. I had to stretch my hips. We went to the bathroom once, Shay took off his shoes once, and I did some like yoga poses just to stretch out my hips. But we ran pretty solid for the first 13 miles. I think once we hit the halfway point, that's when we kind of stopped for probably like a minute. And I honestly think it helps increase your time when you stop, stretch, take a drink, regroup, and then go out. Because once you get so bogged down, like you're running, I feel like you start to develop like, you know, you kind of get slower. I don't know how to really explain it, but I do know that Hal Higdon mentions in his training programs that if you do take, you know, a couple like every 3 miles or whatever you decide that it's going to be your walking time, it actually will help increase your time because you can go faster through your other miles because you can, you know, regroup, breathe, stretch, and then go again instead of just for 26 miles because you're going to start hurting. You know, when you do something over, even if I was to do this for 4 hours, something is going to start hurting and feeling weird because it's just so repetitive. So you've got to take a breather and stop, stretch, do whatever you got to do, and then continue on. So, no, we didn't run straight for 4 hours and 20 something minutes, but we did while we were on the course, if that makes sense. His last question, Emily Paul. She asks, what were you feeling when you got done with the race? Honestly, my first thing was like, I can't believe that we're done. Like, it's over already. Like, this is it. We're done. And then that's when the hard stuff starts setting in. Right after you get done, you are coming off the high. You hit the high. They give you their medal. And then I wish we could have had a camera just on. Everybody looks like zombies. You're kind of just like walking around like everyone's stiff. Everyone's cramping. People have peed their pants. Some people have throw up on them. It's like this big zombie apocalypse. You look in front of you and people are like trying to get through because that's another thing. After you run the marathon, they have to get you all grouped up and like shuffled out in a way. So then you probably walk 2 or 3 or maybe 4 more miles to get out. So it's not like you run 26 miles and then you're in a warm car and you're done. That's when you're like, I feel like is the hardest. Your body starts to shake. You get the shivers. That's why you see the people with the blankets. Your muscles start realizing what they did. They start cramping up and hurting. If you're not hydrated properly, it's going to start hurting. I was getting stomach cramps so bad I thought I was birthing a child. And I don't know if it's because I was so starving or if just because it's like pretty natural after a marathon. But when you get done, you're excited, you're elated, it's spiritual, you cry, and then it's like all of a sudden your body's like, wait, I know what I just did, and crap, it hurts. So that's what I was feeling when I was done. But as soon as we got done, I'm like, I could do this again. We could do another marathon. And I'm really serious. I want to do the London. I want to put in for the London Marathon. I heard it's a draw. So I don't know how likely it is to get into the London one. But I really, really think it'd be rad if we could run the London one. And Logan and Casey actually got to do it with us. And all of you guys, everybody out there, if you guys want to run, you should do it. And supposedly the rumor is Shay wants us to do the LA Marathon in like 129 days. I don't know. Should we do it? At least I wanted just to wrap up. If you guys, one thing I did say after the marathon and I never believed it, or two more things, okay, 2 more stories. After the lady put my medal on me, I was like, I can do anything I want to do. Anything I tell myself I'm going to do and I stick with it, I'm going to do it. And the lady who gave me the medal, she goes, you can. And that is so true. She said, amen. And I just thought, you know, once you set a goal, don't be a flake. Don't be a flake for yourself, because if you're going to flake out on yourself, it's going to be a habit you're going to build up in your life. You don't flake out on your grades. Don't flake out on your exercise. Don't flake out on the things that you want. And don't put up with the excuses. When you start telling yourself excuses, get rid of them and commit to what you say you're going to do, because nothing is worse than regret. Nothing will make you feel worse about your life than regretting and saying, I wish I could, I wish I would have. Because there is no miracle and there is no cure, and there will never be a way to go back in time and to change anything that you didn't do. So do it today. If you want to run a marathon and you've never ran in your life before, tell yourself, and you feel inspired and you want to go out, tell yourself you're going to run a marathon, but be smart about it. Set realistic goals. Go out and run a 5K, a 10K, a half. Stretch, and then practice doing your halves. Practice going 15 miles. Practice going, like I said, a mile further than your last. And watch your body build and grow, because really you can do anything you set your mind to. I ran 16 miles in my preparation, but I still had 10.2 more to go. It's not easy. And so once I went after 17 miles, I wasn't mentally going to let it get to me. I was like, this is awesome. I'm running even further. And then it became competitive. Like, how much further can I go? How much further can I go? So set a goal, don't be flaky, and get a support group. Support groups are huge. Having Shay to rely on, and Derek and Ron and Ethan, and just you guys knowing that we are training up for this event, really helped me stay accountable, and just like I didn't want to let anybody down. And my mom was really good about, you know, reminding us to go out and train. Have you ran today? Have you trained? And so having like that support group really is so effective. That's why I love doing diet bets. That's why I love like interacting with you guys or giving you advice about fitness questions or whatever. I wish I could start like a fit club here in Pocatello. I mean, I wish you could all just be very accessible. Take a ferry, take a taxi, take a plane. Come on, let's work out together. But that would be my dream, is to travel around and do seminars and camps and work out with you guys, and just to give you that support, because I really felt that in the marathon when we were running, that, you know, having that support group and just that, you know, that push underneath you to get you through it on days you didn't want to, definitely made a difference and helped me to get to the end goal. Honestly, it was such an answered prayer and blessing. The times during the marathon I was like, oh, this is getting hard, I'm getting a little bit tired, your sweet little faces would pop up with signs and cheering us on. There were a lot of you along the route, just come on Carlie, come on Shay. And that just like gave me that extra like, okay, boost and confidence. So having people there to support you and cheer you on, you know, gives you something to be happy about and proud of when you're feeling really tired. So thank you everybody who sent good luck tweets and comments and just believed, like, just, I believe in you. You can do it. Get it, girl. Get it, girl. It made my heart so mushy and warm inside. So thank you, you guys, for all your support and love. Sorry, are you so sick of listening to me? At the very beginning, when Shay and Derek and I were all like neck and neck, a lot of you are wondering why Ron wasn't with us or Ethan. They put you in different heats. When you register for your marathon, you have to guess what time you're going to finish. And according to what time we all thought we were going to finish, they put us in different heats. Luckily, Shay, Derek, and I were all pretty close, so we were just like, we're just going to stay together. But Ethan, you know, he definitely finished way before us. And then Ron, he guessed that he was going to finish way later. So he hung back. And that's why, you know, a lot of our footage and tweets and pictures were just centered around us three. But so at the beginning, Derek is super, super tall. He has long, long legs. And Shay this is his 4th marathon, and he's a pretty fast runner, you know, as it is. So the first 3-4 miles, I felt good. I felt like, oh, this adrenaline, it's helping me to stay with the guys. That's why I can hang out with them right now. But I'm sure as we get in through the miles, they're going to go up ahead of me, and that's okay. I want to enjoy it. It's my race, my pace. I'm going to experience it. And so mile 4.5, you know, I kind of just started to slow down. And not because I was tired. I think it was just mentally, because I told myself that. And I told Shay and Derek, I said, you know, you guys don't feel like you need to wait up for me. You run and I'll be right behind you. I probably am not going to be able to keep up with you the whole time. And Shay looked over at me and gave me this like serious stare and goes, yes, you can. And it was like he said it with such a conviction that I was like, yeah, I can. I can hang out. I can run with you guys the whole time. And I'm sure there were probably moments or times where Shay had to slow down for us, or, you know, he probably could have zoomed ahead of us, but it was fun to all stay together and just having that like little boost of confidence, like, yes, you can stay with us. I was like, yes, I can. So be really careful what you tell yourself. It's a big mental game. I think also more over physical when you do something like this. Longest Friday Q&A ever, but I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the support. Set a goal. If anything, set a goal and don't flake out. Go after it, because you can do amazing things. Your body can do hard things. You've done hard things before. You can do hard things in the future. Sign up for the LA Marathon. Let's do it. Let's run it. And let's do the London one too, eh? Or that's Canada. Shoot. I just went Canadian. What's the London? London is like English, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Bye. Love you. I can't believe I'm sorry, you guys. Pretty. You're not always happy. I know there's sometimes you're kind of sad. Yeah. Love you. Honestly, I really, really love you. I'm done. Love you. Bye.